Okay, hi everyone. Welcome back to another live stream. This is Lar from Complete Test Success here. And in today's live stream, we're doing a Q&A, which quite simply means questions and answers. So you ask the questions and I'll answer them for you. You mightn't have a particular question if you would prefer to describe a problem that you have, and I will help you come up with a solution. But either way, just let me know what your questions are, let me know what your problems are, and I will do my best to help you with those. For those of you who are not aware of me or my channel, I've been an IELTS examiner and I've been helping students with IELTS since 2010. So I have a lot of experience. I know what I'm talking about, and I'm happy to share that with you right now. Hey, Lewis, good to see you here again. XIX, good to see you back. Welcome, as always. So, yeah, whatever questions you have, please go ahead and ask, and I'll be able to provide you with the information you're looking for. Hey, Travel Life, good to see you back. For those of you who want more support, I also have free lessons that I host on Zoom. And if you want to join those, there's a link in the video description. Just click on that, sign up, and then you'll have access to the schedule. So it'll give you, the schedule shows you the dates and the times, the topics of the lessons, and it includes the links to join those lessons on Zoom as well. So you'll find that in the video description. How to make complex sentence in writing. So complex sentences are where you would use like relative pronouns, like which, that, where, when, coordinating conjunctions. You can use because. So basically any word where you end up with a dependent clause. That's basically it. If you have a dependent clause, that's all you need. One of the most simple structures would be something like, if I say, I went to the shop and I bought some milk. Those are independent. But the second one, I bought some milk, we don't need the word I, because you know already from the first part, what I'm talking about. So if I said, I went to the shop and bought some milk, that's a complex sentence, because I didn't say, and I bought some milk. I said, and bought some milk. So bought some milk, you need to borrow the word I from the first one. So that makes it complex. The second clause is depending on the first one to understand it. So yeah, that's one of the several ways you can write a complex sentence. But any sentence where you have a dependent clause is considered a complex sentence. Shaxrior, welcome. I've applied for IELTS 3 times so far. I have taken 6.5 from speaking. Okay. So if you've got 6.5 every time, it's likely the right score. If you're getting the same score every time. I can see your next comment. I don't know my weak points. Can you take mock exam for me, please? Yeah, absolutely. So last week I did a live stream on speaking. So I had students on and I was going live with them. And I will be doing another live stream on speaking in the future at some point. So we cycle through the different parts of the test. So I do a different live stream each week. So we will be back to speaking. But you can email me here. I have that service as well on my website. So if you want to have a full practice speaking test with me, I do offer that service and you can email me there. Or if you want to just look at the website where I have the information, I'll just share the link with you here. If you go to the comments, you'll see there, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, you'll see the comment there and you can click on that link as well. Lewis, what kind of content is good to listen to if someone wants to improve their score in the listening section of the test? So it depends what your problem is. To improve your listening score, the first thing you must do is determine why you're getting answers wrong. So you do a practice test, look at all the answers you got wrong, and figure out why you're getting them wrong. So it could be something to do with the exam skills, like, you've got to read the questions and you've got to follow the audio, and you're kind of back and forth between the two of them. So it might be that you're focusing on the wrong things at the wrong time. It might be that you do find the words, but you're bad at spelling. So maybe you need to improve your spelling. It might be that you don't know the vocab. It might be that, your listening skills, you need to improve your listening skills because the listening seems very fast and you can't keep up. So, each of those problems would require a different solution. So if the situation is it's your listening skills, and when you're listening, it seems too fast for you, that means you do need to listen. Honestly, it means you need to listen to English more. But honestly, it doesn't matter what you're listening to. Listen to some formal stuff, listen to some informal stuff, listen to like audio, listen to people from different countries. If you just listen to people from America all the time, you might find it difficult to understand the English accent, or you might find it difficult to understand the Australian accent. So listen to a variety of resources. But what I would encourage you to do is listen to the same thing several times. So instead of, like, let's say, for example, you're watching TV shows, instead of, watching one episode, then the next episode, then the next one, just watch the same small section of an episode many, many times. Listen to it once with no subtitles and kind of pick up on, like, okay, I understood that. I didn't understand that. I don't know what he said there. What was that about? Listen to it again, but this time listen to it with subtitles. So as you're reading the subtitles, you're like, okay, that's what he said. Or, oh, I don't know that vocabulary. That's why I didn't understand. So basically, by watching it again with subtitles, you're kind of tuning your ear into what it sounds like. Then watch it again with no subtitles. So what you learned from the subtitles the second time, you're trying to apply that the third time to see, can you actually hear it again this time? Watch it again with subtitles, again without, again with, again without, again and again and again with and without, until you can understand, 80 or 90% of it. So that way, it's like you're fine tuning your ear so that you can actually recognize the words as they're spoken. And that will help you improve your listening skills a lot more than just listening to something new every time and not actually learning from it, just understanding what you do and don't understand what you, not understanding what you don't. So that's what I'd recommend. Hey, Supreet, good to see you here. Hi, Stephen. I have your essays. I'm in the middle of correcting them. I have the first one done. And then I'll have my dinner after this and I'll be back to you. So give me about 2 hours. I'll have your essays sent back to you, Stephen. Thanks for joining. You're very welcome. Vishal. Hi, Vishal. How can I improve listening, sir? I got 5.5 every time. So pretty much what I was just talking about with Lewis would be the same thing for you. Finding out what mistakes you're making. And once you understand what mistakes you're making, applying whatever necessary action is required to fix that mistake. So if you have a problem with spelling, well, then you need to improve your spelling. If it's that you don't know the vocab, then you need to improve your vocab. So it just depends on what type of mistake you're making, and you work on, fixing whatever mistakes you discover. XIS. Using a comma or commas is still one of my main mistakes, and I'm trying my best to correct this issue. So it depends on the situation. I would say, honestly, and I know I've told you this before, but like going to Grammarly, getting a good detailed description from Grammarly. The thing about the Grammarly blog, so Grammarly is an app where it'll correct your writing, and they have the website, the Grammarly blog. And on the blog, they do a great job of really clearly and concisely explaining grammar. So start there, and then maybe go to something more complicated, like the grammar section in Cambridge Dictionary, to get kind of a deeper understanding of it. After that, lots of reading lots of newspapers, looking how the commas are used, making sure you understand how the commas are used, maybe going back to those grammar rules that you learned previously and trying to go, okay, there's a comma here, why? Going back to the rules, trying to figure out why is that comma in place, and recognizing, okay, this is the rule, this is why there's a comma here. So instead of trying to use it, you're reading and reading and reading, and looking specifically at commas, how they're used, and understanding how they're used. So the rules will give you the ideas of how they're used, but looking at the texts will give you that deeper understanding that you need. And then after that, once you do really understand it on a deeper level from reading, then you try, writing by yourself. The Grammarly app is very good. The free version is very good for most areas of grammar, but for commas, it's, I think, the only area where the actual grammar corrections are superior in the paid version. In the Grammarly app, the paid version is mostly like upgrading the language, helping you rephrase it, helping you to be more concise, but it does have better corrections with commas than the free version does. I'm most familiar with the Grammarly app. There are other apps as well that will correct your grammar, but I'm not as familiar with them. Like I've had other students tell me about other ones that they're using and that they're very happy with them. So I don't really have that information, but for Grammarly, that's definitely the case. Crazy Chess World. I did the test 15 days ago and I got a band 8 in reading. Fantastic. But today I did a full reading test and I got 26 correct answers. Now I'm demotivated by this result. Am I not that good yet? Again, it's figure out what went wrong. What happened to you? Like, how were you able to get so many right in one and so many wrong in another? So it's going to be a variety of vocab. So maybe the one where you got a band 8, there are topics that you're very familiar with. And in the one where you got 26 correct, you're not as familiar with the topics. So there's a lot of vocab you don't understand. So that's the first one. The second one, it could be the question type. So look at the question types that were in your weaker test and see, like, were there a lot of, let's say, true, false, not given questions, and you're not good at them. Whereas when you got a band 8, there were no true, false, not given questions. So you didn't have as many incorrect answers because of the question type. So figure out, is it vocab or is it the question types? If it's the vocab, you need to study vocab. If it's the question types, you need to change your approach and change your strategy for answering those question types. So that's how you need to respond to that. Hi, Parvin. Welcome to the lesson. XXXXYZ. How to improve fluency and reduce grammar and vocab mistakes in speaking. Those are things that you need to do separately. You cannot do those 3 things at the same time. So if you're working on fluency, then you're not trying to correct grammar mistakes. You're not trying to, correct vocab mistakes. If you're trying to improve fluency, you're allowing yourself to speak. You're allowing yourself to make whatever mistakes that you normally make. And if you're trying to improve fluency, you're just practicing speaking in English as much as you can. If you're trying to improve your grammar, you need to know what grammar mistakes you're making, first of all. So let's say if I do a practice test with you and we identify that it's prepositions, articles, and subject-verb agreement, that those are the 3 types of mistakes you make most often. Well, then you would focus on one of those, not all of them. And you would speak really slowly and you would allow yourself to stop and think and really consider the grammar rules and make sure you're applying them correctly. So, it's not that you can just do one thing that will fix all of those mistakes at once. You need to fix them separately, one at a time. So it just, unfortunately, it's going to take more time than you may have originally thought it would. Lewis, I'm studying English with a grammar book, but sometimes I find structures that are rarely used in everyday speech. Where can I find example sentences that are very natural for conversation? Yeah, I mean, there are structures that we would use in writing that we would never use in speaking. So maybe you're looking at like the type of language we use in IELTS writing task 2 would be quite different from the language that we would use in IELTS speaking. So you might be looking at structures that are suitable for writing, but not suitable for speaking. Speaking tends to be more basic. Speaking tends to be less organized. So if you start using overly complex structures in speaking, it's actually not that natural, whereas they would be suitable for writing. So it could be that that's the situation, that you're trying to apply structures that would be more suitable for writing to speaking. And then there are some, and I know you're talking about structures, but like even if we apply it to tenses, like if you look at a text, how often are you going to find past perfect in a piece of writing? Again, very rarely. Like it's natural to use it in particular circumstances, but you're not going to find a text that's predominantly past perfect. That's never going to happen. You know, it'll be predominantly past simple, and then maybe 3 or 4 instances of past perfect. So, you know, the range of structures that you need to know to be accurate, there's a wide range of structures that exist, but the ones that we use normally, there isn't that wide a range when it comes to the normal language that we use. And it's just small little snippets of less common ones included in the normal language. Same with vocabulary. You know, like probably about 60 or 70% of speech is the same words over and over again. And then depending on the topic, you got, you know, the other words specific to that. So overly complex structures aren't used very often anywhere. I know I'm not answering your question directly, but the fact is, if you're looking for it in natural conversation, it probably doesn't appear that often. You're very welcome. From Nepal. Very good. Thanks, Michelle. Ken Clark, how are you? What is all answers are developed appropriate, understood in the speaking and writing task 2? And in speaking, is there any benchmark for answers to be seen as at length? Developed appropriately for task 2 is going to be dependent on how many ideas there are. But what you want to do is stay on topic. So if you're developing an idea, your development has to be about the idea, but it also has to be within the context of the question. So developed appropriately is it's relevant. You're talking about the idea you said you were going to talk about. You're within the context of the question. And then it depends how many ideas there are. So like this, roughly speaking, if there are 4 ideas in your essay, you're going to have about 40 words. You're going to have about 40 words of development, about 50 words per idea. So, you know, you say what your idea is and you develop it. So let's say 50 words per idea if there are 4 ideas, but it's going to be 100 words per idea if there are 2 ideas. So, you know, within that, like if you're able to develop, if you have 2 ideas and you develop it 100 words each, that's reasonable. But if you have to write about 4 ideas and it's still within 40 minutes, you're not expected to develop 4 ideas as much as you would 2. So that's what we're talking about. It was like developed appropriately. And at length is just not too short. Just not too short. If you're giving short answers, that's problematic. Let me have a quick look at the band descriptors here. So you're saying for speaking at length is I'm not sure which band descriptor you're looking at there. So for speaking fluency band 6, it says willingness to produce long turns. So I think in the old one it said at length. So just not short, just not too short. Like if you're giving 2-sentence answers, that's not a band 6. You know, like developing a bit more, not waiting for the examiner to ask you why. Just at length is not too brief. Fazal, seen after a long time, your live stream still radiate the same energy. Always helpful. Thank you very much. Good to see you here, Fazal. Marvis, hi Lar, hi Marvis. What can I do to improve my reading score? I've done the test a couple of times now and I managed to get 7 and above for the other 3 tests, but keep getting 6.5 in reading. So we talked about this earlier on. Where you would do a listening test, analyze your mistakes, and then once you know what your mistakes are, you start fixing them. We would apply the same thing to reading. So why are you getting the questions wrong? Is it vocab? Are you reading too quickly so you don't understand it? Like, sometimes we try to read very fast and we don't actually process the words that we're reading. Maybe you're trying to read too fast. Maybe it's the vocab. Maybe it's the question types. So you need to go back and analyze your incorrect answers, figure out what you're doing wrong, and that will help you determine what action you need to take to improve your score. Let me share. I have a link on my website here for reading. So I'll just share that with you in the comments. So it's basically what I've said to you, but in far more detail. So if you go to the most recent comment there, Marvis, you'll see reading strategy. Just click on that link there, and you'll see the information you're looking for in more detail. Clark, can you give some examples of grammatical mistakes that are acceptable for a Band 9 grammar in speaking? Well, maybe if you start a sentence and then you rephrase it in the middle, where you would make a mistake like that. Basically very, very few, and not the same type of mistake. So, if you make 3 mistakes and they're all related to plurals, it looks like you're not really aware of how to use plurals correctly. But if you make mistakes and they're just kind of little small things here and there that you didn't notice because you're thinking so much about what you want to say, those are natural. So it's not about what grammar mistakes would be acceptable. It's not like these ones are and these ones are not. It's just as we speak, we naturally make mistakes that we don't notice, in the same way as when we're writing, we naturally make mistakes that we don't notice, but we can go back and fix them in writing. Whereas in speaking, we don't have that opportunity. So it would be like whatever grammar mistakes you hear me making right now, those are acceptable because that's just natural. It happens naturally. So it's not that some are okay and some are not okay. It's any type of grammar mistake would be considered a slip as long as it's not consistent. If the candidate is making the same mistake over and over again, that's definitely not a Band 9. Hi, Mohammed. Good to see you here. Michelle, how many paragraphs we have to make and discuss both views and give your own opinion? Well, look, it's not strict, and it depends on who your teacher is. I teach 5 paragraphs. So we'll have introduction, conclusion, 1 paragraph for the first view, 1 paragraph for the second view, 1 paragraph for your opinion. So that's what I recommend. But other teachers will have other structures that are completely acceptable as well. So it's not like my one's right and then everyone else is wrong. It doesn't work like that. IELTS is willing to accept anything that's, well organized and allows for development of each idea. But that's my particular favorite. I think it addresses the view, like both views clearly, and it gives you a good opportunity to develop your own opinion. And it's more logically organized than trying to do, several things in each paragraph. Everything is completely separate. So it's my favorite way to do it, but it's not the only way. If another teacher is giving you another structure, that doesn't mean that they're wrong whatsoever. Jay, I'm following your structure in which I sometimes do not stretch much for explaining my idea. How can I do? Any suggestions for it? So move on to something else. If your explanation isn't long enough, then add an example. It doesn't have to be a very long explanation. You need to develop your ideas fully. So earlier on, we were saying if you have 2 ideas in your essay, it'll be 100 words for the first and 100 words for the second, roughly. So if you do it, say what your main idea is, and then a big long explanation, that's perfect. Or it could be say what your idea is, explain it, and give an example. That's also acceptable. So it doesn't have to be just one really long explanation. Sir, I want to do IELTS. Do you have online pattern? I'm not sure what you mean by pattern, Amber. Can you rephrase that? Can you rephrase that? Write another comment and rephrase that for me. I'm happy to answer the question, but I don't fully understand what you're asking at the moment. Lewis, what if I don't know how to elaborate on a part 3 answer? Say why. Say why you don't know how to elaborate. So the score you get in the IELTS speaking test is your fluency, your vocab, your grammar, and your pronunciation. So it's not about is your answer right, or is your answer wrong, or is your answer smart, or is your answer do you seem knowledgeable? Is your answer informative? It's none of that. It's just talk. I need you to talk about something so that I can check your fluency, vocab, grammar, and pronunciation. So the questions are just so you're talking. I don't really care what you're talking about. I just need you to talk. Once you're talking, I can analyze your speaking. So, it's not that you need to be knowledgeable on a topic. So if you're saying you don't know how to elaborate because you don't know much about the topic, that's not necessarily a problem. Just explain to me why you cannot elaborate. Actually, I don't know much about this topic because in my country, we have such and such a thing. Like, where I live, we mostly drive, we mostly use public transport. None of my friends or families have cars, so I'm not really able to talk much about cars. Like, I do see them on the road, but it would just be, maybe the more wealthy people that would have cars in my country. I don't have much experience about driving cars or, getting a driving license. So if you're able to explain to me why you cannot talk about, whatever topic you were asked to discuss, you're still talking. I'm still checking your fluency, vocab, grammar, and pronunciation. So you would never be in a situation where you have nothing to say. You can still talk about why you don't have the information, whatever it would be. It's completely fine. Marvis, you're very welcome. Jay, sir, I'm following your structure from one main idea to 4 main ideas, but sometimes I don't stretch many. Okay, so we were talking about that earlier on. And practice planning essays more often. If you don't practice planning a lot, it's going to be difficult for you to think of those ideas. And one thing that a lot of students do is when they're planning, they can't think of an idea and they just go on the internet and, they ask ChatGPT or they go searching online, looking in newspapers. But if you're using the internet to find your ideas, you're not the one thinking of them and you're not going to get better at thinking of them, So if you're struggling with it, practice more often and make sure you do it by yourself and just give yourself more time. And if you're getting frustrated, walk away, take a break and come back later, but you have to practice more to get better at it. You're very welcome. By the way, I've taken the test recently, kind of testing the water after a while. I got an 8.5 in speaking. Good man. That's great. I applied your advice on practicing grammar for S last time and it worked amazingly. Well done. Good to hear it. Thank you for sharing. How can I practice paraphrasing and using new vocab? Well, paraphrasing, you can just take some sentences and rewrite them. But you see, the thing about paraphrasing is you will be limited by your range of vocab and grammar, and you have to be realistic about your ability. So if you try to paraphrase words that you don't have any synonyms for, you're going to make mistakes. So you have to be realistic. If there's a word in the question that you don't know a synonym for, you have to copy that word in the question. You have no choice. So I think being realistic and, like you're saying, study vocab, improve your vocab, study more and more and more. The more vocab you know, the more you can paraphrase. So it's not something that you can improve quickly. If you study vocab every day for 6 to 12 months, well, then you'll be way better at paraphrasing after that time. But if you don't study vocab, well, you'll be exactly the same ability now as you are in 6 to 12 months. So your paraphrasing is basically checking your ability to, apply the vocab that you've learned. Hey, B. Winkle, can you tell me what other methods teacher use for discuss both views and give your own opinion? I don't think they're right. Your structure is right. Thanks. It just depends on the teacher. Like some teachers will put the opinion in the introduction and conclusion and not develop it. Some teachers will say which opinion they agree with, which view they agree with, and which view they disagree with in the body paragraphs where they're writing about the views. So they have a paragraph for each view, and then they put their opinion at the end. It just depends. It depends. They're all acceptable. Just obviously I do it the way I like. How can I sign up for one-on-one sessions? 1 second now, Marcus. I'll share. I have a link for you here. Oh, thanks, XIX. You're very good. So, Marvis, I have one-on-one essay corrections, one-on-one speaking, practice tests, and also IELTS courses. So that's the link to sign up for those, and my email address if you want to just email me directly and we can talk about that together. Amber, sir, I want to attend your online class. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so that I just shared that same link that I just shared. So that's the link that I just shared there. And like I said as well, Amber, that's my email address, lar@completetestsuccess.com. XIX, thank you very much. You're very generous. Again, thanks so much, XIX. He said, I like it that this channel is very organic, but I also hope your channel grows. You're very good. Thank you so much. I also do work for other schools as well. So, I have a lot of things going on. But yeah, absolutely. It would be great if this channel got bigger. Thanks a million, XIX. You're so good. Travel life. Is it positive or negative development? Is it a positive or negative development? Okay, so we're talking about the question type. Is it a positive or negative development? Do we want to answer both positive and negative sides? You don't need to. So the easiest thing to do is say, I think it's positive, and here are 2 reasons why I think that. Or I think it's negative, and here are two reasons why I think that. If you need a band 9 in task achievement, you will need to refer to the opposite opinion. So if you're saying, I think it's positive, here are 2 reasons why. Somewhere in your essay, you need to refer, you need to discuss the other side. But that's only if you need a band 9. Jay, you're very welcome. XIX, thank you again. You're very good to me. Okay, no more comments at the moment. I don't really have much more to say myself either. I'll wait a few minutes. If anyone else has other questions, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, we'll finish a little bit earlier than normal. Up to you guys now. Teacher, I have problems with writing task 1. I'm not very familiar with the terms. If you need to improve your vocab for IELTS task 1, let me share a page 2. Just let me go to my website now and I'll find, I have one page on my website that goes through the kind of typical vocab that you would need for task 1. For academic task 1. But you should also check out the coherence and cohesion and the grammar pages for task 1, because I have quite a bit of vocab and language and grammar structures listed opposite graphs. So I have like pictures of graphs with the types of language you can use to describe it. So instead of just like having one description of, you know, a line graph going up, of a line going up, I'll give you about 5, 6, 7 ways to describe the same thing. So that will give you the variety you need. So similar into what extent essay type? If we completely agree with one side, do we need to discuss the disagree point to achieve a 9? We do for a task. We do for a band 9 in task achievement, but you're just putting extra effort. You're putting more. You're making it more complicated, and there's enough to do already. So what I would say is, don't worry about it. Aim for a band 8. Keep it simple. If you can get yourself a band 8, that will go a long way to helping you achieve your score. But you do need to discuss the other side to get a band 9 in task achievement. But by making it more complicated, are you going to end up being unclear? If your opinion is not clear throughout the essay, you could end up with a band 6. So it depends on your level. It depends on what score you need. So I would have different advice for different students, but in general, if you're aiming for a 7, I wouldn't go making it more complicated and try to do it this way. So it just depends on your level. Okay. Seems like there are no more questions. All right. We'll leave it there for today. Thanks to all of you for joining. Hopefully my answers will help you guys. XIX, thanks again. You're very good. And yeah, talk to you guys next time. I have another live stream next week. And for those of you looking for one-on-one support, you can find me there. Take care. Bye, everyone. See you next time.